Last time I rolled down the coast of Oregon through the misty redwoods and into California and did a live stream from the laundromat in the marina before rolling east into Six River National Forest to do some camping. As I headed east into the mountains, I noticed the smoke growing in intensity and thickness, and I started passing all of these forest fire trucks. I've got to assume that's what they were. There were so many of them that I passed that I decided that I was probably getting close to the chaos. And then I rolled into this sleepy little town known as Willow Creek, and I wasn't really familiar with it or did not know the significance of this town until I got back and did some research. But first, to talk to the rangers and get the skinny on the fire situation. How close is the fire?
Pretty much this whole side is caught, so it's just kind of moving to the east.
East?
Northeast.
Northeast, okay. All right.
But it was just right here.
Yeah, I can tell it's pretty, well, yeah, I can see some burning up there. So how far northeast?
Everything active, probably 5 miles.
Oh, wow.
6 miles.
Still active, okay. Well, gotta figure out where I'm camping tonight. I don't want to see you guys going, hey!
No, that shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
Everything active is way out.
Yeah, cool.
Everything on the island, the river corridor is all down.
Cool.
Have a good one.
Yeah, thanks. After loading it with supplies and fuel, I parked next to this giant carved sasquatch, which was really not that unusual until I realized what this town was really all about. I continued heading east into the wilderness to try to find a place to camp for the night. As the sun was going down, I did not have a lot of choices left for me, but the place is surrounded by forest. I figured I had really should have no problem finding a place to camp. But it's times like this when you realize how tricky it can be to find a campsite. As I pulled off the road just past the forest sign, started winding my way up this very powdery dirt road, and everything seemed to be going as planned until I continued down the road for a few miles and realized that this place was going to be a little bit trickier than I had anticipated, but mostly just because it's very mountainous here, and this is one of the primary reasons I am a hammock camper. And as you can see on my way up, I slow down to find these little pullouts, and I also realize that there's telephone poles going up into the forest, which typically means there's houses up here, or at least properties. Once you see telephone poles on dirt roads leading into the forest, you come to realize, like I have over the years, that people are still living up here. It's not just pure forest. It's not just fun recreation. There's private property up here, and that became evident the further up I went. And up to some point, typically people stop building houses, or at least let it go back to the state or the county, or in this case the federal government. But yeah, that's if you'll start looking here, you'll see the same thing that I did. There's not really any places to even pull the motorcycle off the road going up, and the few spots that you see are driveways, access to private property, and you'll see more as we slow down. But really, there's a downslope. We're basically on the side of a mountain here, and there's a downslope, and there's a few small patches on the side of the road which I refuse to camp on, because where I'm from, 2 o'clock in the morning, you have some drunk redneck rolling around the side of the mountain in a $600 pickup truck, sliding sideways into a corner, and that's private property there on the left too. And it just kind of continues like this. More private property right there on the left, telephone pole. And I was starting to get a little bit concerned, but I figured as soon as I got up to the top of the mountain, if this road went over the top, typically there's places up there that flatten out a little bit. You can see small patches on the side of the road. You could throw a tent up, but these are typically the exceptions, and I don't like camping next to a roadway. Like I said, getting squished at 2 a.m. is just not really my thing. So typically I like to get my bike off the road too, but there's just not a whole lot of opportunity here that's not right next to the road. But as I continued up, I started seeing a little bit better opportunities. And when you have a hammock, it just opens up all kinds of opportunities for you, because you're not looking for that flat spot. You're not looking for the open area. You can hang, and I could have parked my bike right on the side of the road and probably hung my hammock on a 30-40 degree incline. I've done that before, but yeah, just like I said, I'm a huge advocate of hammocks, camping, and your ability to take advantage of trees. But getting out of a hammock at 2 a.m. to take a piss is a bit of a challenge when you have to you have to navigate a 40-degree incline. So there's great spaces, and then there's spaces like this that are just going to suffice. I like it. Find me some trees, baby.
Let's make some trees. Standing trees. Huh? Well, I'm just trying to get off the road. Don't have any choice trees, but that's a pretty good spot, despite the fact that it has no decent trees, or they're not in the right spot. But I'm not going to get run over. Worst case, one of the trees that I tie up to is going to fall. It's kind of funny. Could happen. Oh, I just want a beer. I want to sit down. Can we do that? Saturday night up in the Six Rivers National Forest. A couple hours after my live stream at the marina in Eureka, California. So I'm still in California. It's very smoky out here, smoky looking, but just a very slight smell of smoke, and I passed a stronger smell as I was coming up the hill. I think I probably gained about 1,500, 2,000 feet in the last, 3-4 miles. Pretty steep hill down to the highway, but yeah, not a great spot, but it's a spot. You can see that green bag is hanging by one of the trees that I'm going to tie off to tonight. It's so well hung in there. It's still pretty solid in the ground. I'm not sure. I think the tree's probably still alive. It looks like it's still got some green on it, but it's solid. It's much more solid than the other one back there that I was going to tie off to. This guy, that guy's dead, and he's just kind of floating. So I was going to tie off to him. I was like, no, this is a much better choice hanging on. Well, we're going to see. And then I'm going to tie off to a tree directly behind me. Anyway, I'm on step 2. Golly, the shoots, all their stuff is so good. Stopped by the little market on the way in, grabbed some beer, and I was going to grab some hot food, except their hot food was ridiculously small and expensive. So I got some salami, you know, a sensible dinner. I probably spent the same thing I would have spent for 3 or 4 of those stupid burritos that were, I don't think they were 3 ounces, 2 or 3 ounces a piece. It was like all tortilla. And then they had a fried rice thing of fried rice, like a cup and a half of fried rice for $8. Rice. Yeah, it's a disease spreading too quickly. I don't want to contribute to it. I forgot to mention the spot, a little bit more detail about the spot. It's pretty high up this hill. It's a twisting, very narrow road. Very powdery the first mile or so. And then it starts getting very steep, and it's got this nice firm gravel that doesn't appear to be very well traveled. So I've been up here about 30-40 minutes now, and I haven't seen or heard a single car. So I think I'm far enough up to not be disturbed tonight. It is a Saturday night, so if anybody comes up, it'll probably be after dark. And they'll probably come drifting sideways towards my motorcycle. Hopefully they'll miss it. Otherwise I'll have to kill somebody. So it's becoming increasingly apparent to me, and I probably have mentioned it already. I feel like I need to tell more of a story, because the story that I'm telling is, here's me racing around on my motorcycle. Here's my campsite back there. There's my campsite. Here I am getting on the motorcycle. Chopped up with a little bit of sometimes there's something interesting that happens. And I'm trying to stretch as a storyteller. I've always considered myself a horrible storyteller. I don't know how to tell stories, but I feel like I'm getting better because I'm really trying to improve. I'm trying to include some of the elements of the people that I admire, the things that are compelling, the stories, the components, the pieces that those people that I admire share that make their story compelling, and I'm trying to add those as I go. But I think I've gotten into a rut now where it's this whole A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and that's basically getting on my motorcycle, going, hey, good morning, internets, I'm getting back on my motorcycle into this place, and I'm going to ride down this road. And even Itchy Boots, I think, comes to a certain point where you're going like, shit, she's just riding down a bunch of country roads. Okay, it's a third world country, but the elements that I love of her videos in particular are her interactions, you know, the unexpected, she's riding down a road, there's a cow on the road. Oh my gosh, there's something impeding her progress, or there's something that's forcing its way into the story. And I'm not sure what that's going to take for me to inject something like that. Maybe it's just slowing down. Maybe it's interacting with the people around me. Maybe it's like the bottom of the hill today. I'm asking the firefighters, the hot shots, what's going on with the fire? Can I camp up here? And I didn't turn the camera on them. All I got was audio. So I got them walking towards the camera. And I got, a little Q&A. Hopefully it picked up some of their answers. But it's like, man, it would have been so much cooler if I could have just turned the camera and got their reactions. But I'm always wary about that. I would much rather catch them off guard with a natural reaction. And off camera even, them talking over here instead of them talking directly to the camera and going, oh, I don't want to be on camera. Because I understand that. In more ways than one, a lot of people just don't want to be on camera. A lot of people just freak out when you turn the camera on them. So, because they don't want to be on camera because you just freaked them out. But anyway, I'm just trying to find some natural way of telling a more interesting story than the same. Pack up camp, get on my motorcycle, go find something else amazing in the woods. Because it's all starting to look the same to me. I'm betting it's starting to look the same to you too. At least I can look up and go, oh look, Was not aware that there were some amazing woods. Look at this little clear cut here. Well, it's not a clear cut, but it's cut. And you can see all the way up. Look how rugged this damn mountain is. Just imagine trying to climb to the top of this mountain up that little drainage there. Yeah, something like that. A little bit of history, a little bit of geology, the stuff that I love. I think I need to start injecting that into the story. Just a thought. I've only had 4 beers. Yeah, I'm probably not got that much longer. I'm trying to transfer more files so I can keep adding video. And I think that's probably where I realized what was going on. It's like, man, I just keep dumping hours of freaking video on this thing every day, and then excluding most of them because it's not any different than the last video that I made. I gotta have something more interesting. I'm running out of time. It's the end of August. I got maybe another month left, maybe 6 weeks. I gotta start heading back before it starts getting winter. I'm not really prepared for winter. I don't like winter. Maybe winter in the south. Southern California, southern Arizona, southern Texas, all the way back to Alabama. October. Yeah, maybe that's what I'll do. Just kind of wind my way back through the south. It'll be getting cold soon. It's going to start snowing up here soon. And there's mosquitoes everywhere. Everywhere. This is bad. Northern California and Oregon are as bad as Alabama when it comes to mosquitoes. It's crazy.
So I rolled out the next morning in the midst of the smoky goodness, and I knew I probably wasn't going to have to ride that far to get out of the smoke, but it was still impressive to see how beautiful everything was, even in the smoke. But it was about this point I started seeing patches of water or some kind of substance in the road, and at one point I hit that patch in a corner and almost crashed. It was very slick. It was not water, it was water and something else. But I caught up to this tanker here, and I passed the guy and tried to get him to pull over to tell him he was spilling something out of the back. And I thought it was oil or something like that, but he didn't want to hear it. And he basically rolled down the road to their camp, or their staging area that we just passed. And yeah, it's extremely dangerous stuff. It's my first experience rolling through something like that. And you could see it was basically on every corner, hard corner, he was spilling something out, mostly in the middle of the road. But yeah, you don't see these patches of slick stuff till you get in them. And like I said, the front washed out. I probably slid about 2 feet. Luckily, I was able to get back on top of the bike. But yeah, pretty scary. And you can see this is just freaking beautiful. Even in the brown haze, this is just one of the most spectacular places I've ridden. And as the smoke cleared, you could start seeing some of the damage from the previous fires. I would assume this place catches fire probably every other year, maybe 2 or 3 times a decade. In fact, I think it was about this area, there's a place called Burnt Ranch, a small little town. I don't even know if it was a town. It was more like a village, but there's a place on the map called Burnt Ranch. So obviously this place has been catching fire for a long time, but the further and deeper I got in to this amazing countryside, the more you could see the damage from the past. Lots of just complete hillsides devastated by fire. And some of it had started growing back. Some of it, you could see it was recent. So I would say probably the most recent fires were 2020, when the big devastation came through California and Oregon and just tore the place up. But yeah, it's just, I want to come back and ride this when you can see all the way down the valley here, and maybe spend some more time. Shockingly, the smoke wasn't bothering my eyes or my throat as bad as it usually does, but usually when it gets this thick, it's hard for me to stay any length of time. But yeah, I still wanted to get out of the smoke and see what else was out there, so I continued heading southeast down the highway until I could find something better. And it was a really nice ride as the sun was coming up, and the further south and east I rode, the better the sky cleared up, and it was a great ride out of the Smoky Wilderness that morning. I gotta get a new tire. It's time. Yeah, I don't think I've got 500 miles left on that tire, so it's time.